Thanks for joining us at 4. I'm Fallon Glick.
And I'm Gilbert Corsi. A decision by the new Trump administration takes direct aim at police reform in Louisville. Reports say that the Justice Department is halting consent decrees, the very thing that LMPD just agreed to with the DOJ.
And we are joined now by Police Chief Paul Humphrey. The DOJ report identified a pattern and practice of civil rights violations in LMPD's policing.
Now, Chief, you'd previously said in an interview with us here on WDRB that no matter who won the election, you were committed to change, and a statement today that was joined with you and the mayor reaffirmed that. But my question is, will LMPD still carry out these reforms laid out to the letter, fully, completely in the consent decree, if the DOJ is not forcing it and an independent monitor and a judge aren't overseeing it?
Right, and so I understand that was a negotiated document, and we are still fully committed to police reform and improving every single day. So the things that we're going to do, regardless of whether it's under a consent decree, under the oversight of the federal government, or under the oversight of the community, is going to be striving towards constant improvement. And we will make sure, regardless of what happens, the community knows exactly what our plan is, what the goals are, and we are transparent that they can hold us accountable to that.
Again, I want to go back to the consent decree is a negotiated document.
Correct.
There were things that were push and pull, and it took more than a year to even get there. So the reforms that are laid out to the letter in that more than 200-page contract, no matter what happens at the federal level, will LMPD still follow what it agreed to in that contract?
So the vast majority of the policy and training stuff we're going to do anyway, regardless of whether there's a consent decree. There's a lot of administrative reporting stuff that applies to the court, applies to the DOJ, of what information we have to provide them. If they're not part of it, then there's no reason to do those things. But what I will tell you, as far as when it comes to police performance and how we behave as a police department when it comes to policy and training, the vast majority of that, it doesn't matter what happens, we are going to do that.
Part of your challenge here is rebuilding public trust. You're
yes.
the sixth person to hold the title as chief or interim chief in about 4 years. And policies shift when leadership change. For example, we saw with body cam footage how the police department used to release it within 24 hours, and now it comes out after 10 business days, and it's edited, not raw footage. So how does the public...
I actually think that's a really good example.
I want to finish the question though. So how does the public trust that the consent decree will be followed if it's not legally mandated?
So I actually think that your example about body camera footage is a really good example of an improvement in transparency, because what you used to get in the 24-hour cycle is a lack of context. So I can give you something and it means nothing if you don't have the full context to it. So by waiting 10 days and actually being able to provide you the story, and then we give you the raw footage also, we are giving the public an understanding of what happened in those situations. And it's the same way when we're talking about anything that we do. You saw we put out a crime plan because I want the public to know when, where, and why we're making the decisions related to enforcement strategies that we make, so that you understand that. And that's what we've lacked before, is that next step of transparency. So we want to make sure that you have information in context. You will know our policies, you will know our training, you will know the standard that we're holding ourselves to. And that is my commitment. And I expect that both the mayor and the community, if I don't meet that commitment, there'll be an 8th chief or a 9th chief, right? So I'm here to make sure that we do this the right way. I have faith in the men and women of LMPD to do it the right way. And I think you've already seen a large change between how we perform now and the past.
And speaking of doing things the right way, a new report by the Louisville Inspector General, he says police lied on the search warrant that led to...
I'm sorry.
Say that again?
It's this, look, I've looked into that report that he put out. Mm-hmm. I don't have every single detail, but we've already poured in several hours. He just got that to us at 10:30 this morning. We've put in several hours reviewing body camera, reviewing all of the documentation related to it between executive staff, lawyers. There's a lot of stuff in there that's completely misleading, and I think it's inappropriate for the Office of the Inspector General to do that. So our officers did not lie on those warrants. When he says that the woman did not pass out, or saying that the officer changed the charges, that's not what happened. She absolutely states on body camera that she was strangled to the point of unconsciousness. It's on video. Yet he says in his report that the officer lied about that. That's not the way that it works. He says that the detective goes back and changes charges inappropriately. Clearly does not understand the way the criminal justice system operates. Those charges are worked with a prosecutor that specializes in domestic violence, and that charge is completely appropriate. She was pistol whipped. That is assault second. She was strangled to the point of unconsciousness and described how it happened. That is strangulation first. Those charges are completely appropriate. So it's very important that we build trust, and I think having an external oversight is an important part of that. But releasing inappropriate findings like this is so damaging to our ability to build public trust. And I'm not going to sit here and let him disparage LMPD in that way. I will always tell you when we're wrong. Are there things that were done that day or part of that investigation that should be improved? 100%. I'll go back and look at this interview, and there's things that I should improve in the way I conducted this interview. But that is not in any way any malfeasance that he's claiming, and I'm not going to stand for it. Those officers did a great job.
Okay, Chief, and we want to get to another topic here. A woman is suing LMPD for its failure to respond to a domestic violence call. She was left with broken bones in her face. She nearly died. LMPD logs show police were on their way, and then they didn't show up to take that call until 3 hours later. What exactly happened during those 3 hours?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. And so I just told you that officers did a great job on this one. I'm not sure. I've already initiated an investigation to try to figure it out. There was a lot of moving parts. From what I can tell, I don't see any malfeasance by the officers. It looks like a lot of confusion about what steps to take next. What happened in that time period between the initial call and officers actually arriving on scene, I'm not sure. And so that's what we're initiating an investigation to try to figure out.
Do you know if that call was cleared? Because I know that can happen sometimes.
No, that call was held for the next shift. So it was right before shift change. And so that call was held for the next shift to come in. And the original run was not what the ultimate end ended up being. It came in as people arguing. So we received 25,000 domestic violence calls a run, and they're all very serious. But it did not come in with the officers knowing the level of injuries that woman had received. And so I've already initiated an investigation to try to figure out exactly why this happened, if anybody needs to be held accountable for it, and if we need to change anything about the way that either us or Metro Safe handles these types of situations.
And the last time you were here, I remember we were talking about police response during snow accidents, and the public also saying that police don't respond even when the weather is good outside. This is an example of that happening here. So right. How can the public have confidence in LMPD during an emergency when they hear stuff like this?
Right, and again, like I said previously, I want to make sure that we are prioritizing the runs that we need to prioritize so that when there is a dangerous situation, we're getting officers there. And so that's why I'm conducting an investigation to see where those gaps were so that we can make sure that this does not happen again. We think we have fail-safes to make sure that it doesn't happen, but going on the information that we have now, I can't make a judgment right now about why that happened, but what I can guarantee you is that I want officers to go to these runs and make arrests, right? This is a man who had committed a heinous crime of domestic violence who needed to be taken into custody. He was ultimately taken into custody the next night. That woman was not put in any more danger because she was out of the house. However, I do want to fully understand what happened in this situation before I make a full judgment on that. But I know those officers it appears they were trying to do the right thing, and I just got to understand why the decisions were made the way they were.
So there's a PSU investigation going on.
Yes, that's being initiated.
Professional Standards Unit.
Yes.
I want to circle back to the what you said on the IG earlier. We have seen push and pull publicly between the police department and the IG's office. Yeah. It was more than a year before the IG's office was able to complete a case because he had said that he was not getting cooperation from the police department. Do you want to work with the IG's office?
I think one of the best tools that we can have to build public trust is independent oversight. I think having an inspector general and a civilian review board that functions appropriately and gives appropriate information to the public is absolutely key to us being able to explain to the public what we do, and they trust that information. But when I look at something on body camera that's completely the opposite of what you're accusing us of, that is troublesome. And so I want a good functioning relationship with the inspector general, and I don't know I don't know exactly what went on in this case as far as the way he conducted that investigation, but I've got enough information to know I don't like the way that he wrote his findings, and so we will deal with that. But what I'm not going to let him do is come out here and call us liars and compromise public trust in a situation that we didn't.
So will you guys be responding? Because he had said
Yeah,
in his report
I'm going to put out
yesterday
more
that
information about this.
there had been no response to the prior investigations.
Yeah, I'll put out more information about this once we've been able to fully assemble everything in a way that's publicly consumable.
All right. Chief Paul Humphrey, thank you so much for joining us here on the News at 4.
Thank you both.